Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to now what is round 6, I believe, here for the Pro League Racing World Tour Season 3 at a very wet looking Silverstone. It's been quite interesting. I haven't obviously broadcasted qualifying because I had some issues with ACC, which I found more amusing than anything, but we are all good now. What did seem to have happened, it has started raining halfway through qualifying, as you can probably see on your screen right now. Currently only a damp track though, so it's still a relatively drier track than what it would be if it's a full standing wet track here. But that's where you can see the AMs are probably going to be leading the race here for the start of it here. As they can see, currently I believe it's James Hutton's. It is currently in P1 159.3, which is usually, I would say, a mediocre time to I don't know how to phrase this without being... We'll just say it's a relatively good time for the AM class there, but compared to what we see with the Pro and Silver drivers, it's definitely probably a good few tenths off, to say the least. But obviously the Pros and Silvers won't be able to get anywhere near that time because their allocated qualifying time did start a tiny bit later, earlier to be fair, than usual. But that is because of obviously this rain, so they wanted to have a tiny bit of a chance to get at least a dry lap in, which obviously you can see by the timing screen has not happened at all. It is going to make it a tiny bit more interesting for the steward, I believe, as well. But obviously, the AMs being slightly slower than what the Pros and the Silvers would be is definitely going to put or throw a big spanner in the works here for the drivers. On board now with Victor, who isn't up in his first best lap time at all. The only... that feels so bad. I phrased that completely wrong, mate. I apologize. It's definitely not. It's a better time than what I would be doing right now. I didn't mean to call it VGR. I've started the stream, what, 4 minutes ago and I've already offended someone. Oh, days. I'm sorry. That was just phrased. I didn't know how to phrase it compared to, what's it called? What I'd usually do. But I apologize. I didn't mean it in that way, obviously. But you're in P1 though, so there's nothing to complain about. As well, do see Philip now coming on to the Hamilton straight. All our laps with rain, all Pros and Silvers had rain. I think, yeah, you're at a big disadvantage there, but it's going to make it more interesting, obviously, for the racing here. Silverstone, I'm not sure what the weather system's looking like for the actual race. Obviously, it's an hour race, and we haven't... I'm pretty sure we're not expected to see a mixed condition race during this championship, as I believe Greg said at an earlier date. But as it stands right now, it is either going to be a wet race or a dry race. I would hope it's a dry race because obviously it provides better racing. But if it's a wet race, it's also going to be a bit more chaotic as well at the start of it. Weather randomness is 3. Okay, so that's quite high. I'm not sure what the cloud level and rain chance is currently at, but the randomness being quite high like that already is going to be quite interesting, obviously, for you guys. And obviously it's already starting to show the randomness is starting to take place of its power going into qualifying, being now still a damp track, but seeming to get a tiny bit heavier in about 10 minutes, but it doesn't seem we're going to witness the heaviest rain that we will see here. It might be wet and dry. That is something taking consideration. I'm pretty sure Greg said there wouldn't be something like this season, but if there is, I'm not complaining. That's probably some of my favorite types of racing to broadcast on. Rain's 0.1 and clouds 0.5. Okay, so that's, again, that's a bit lower than I anticipated, but I guess that does make it a bit more interesting because it's giving it probably a bit more of a better chance for what you would see as dry instead of wet, as we still on board with Philip, as he's the only one who is improving. In fact, he's not even improving anymore. It does seem he lost a lot of time going through Stowe there. Daniel Montero there in the Ferrari 296 GT3 going through Megan Beckett's now as we speak. 203.5 is the best time, obviously, in the damp conditions. It's going to get wetter and wetter as we do now see the track is just downgraded to a wet track. So this is where we're going to see the slowest lap times taking place for the Pro and Silver drivers. Doesn't seem actually anyone's going to be improving on their personal best lap time Obviously, that is going to be expected as the track is becoming more and more wet here. Daniel, though, going through the final chicane of what would be the F1 start-finish straight of Hamilton straight, is able to take it relatively well. He's still able to maintain a consistent green delta here. He's not actually going up or down any time here, just so, yeah, I'm just kind of wondering if it's broken. It doesn't seem to be broken. Everyone else is live updating here as it doesn't seem he's going to be... Oh my days, that seems like a wheel disconnect there from Daniel. We got a replay. What just happened there? I'm not actually entirely sure. That did look like a wheel disconnect on behalf of Daniel. As we do see going in there, he just doesn't brake. I think that is a wheel disconnect, you know. I'm not being able to see his inputs, obviously, but just by the way he's not turning, unless it was his intentions to go full speed into a barrier, which I'm not sure it would have been. But actually, his delta's still not updated, so I'm assuming there might be a technical issue from a... Yeah, he's actually gone here, so Daniel Montero had to leave the session there if he's going to join back. He still has 5 or 8 minutes left to go, obviously with max wait time in between sessions here. Greg Ellis in the PLR Esports for our 296, currently going into Maggots and Beckett for probably one of the final times you will see here tonight. He was green delta for a second there, but he has lost it, unfortunately, going into the Maggots and Beckett here. It is the wettest we have seen the track here tonight. It's still a relatively hot track though, 19 degrees track. That is probably quite average here for Silverstone. So we do actually see fair weather currently in P26. It is improving going into Stowe here. Currently 6/10 up in his first lap time. Has done a 208.2. It's his best lap time. Needs to at least try and gain about 4 seconds or so. Just less than that, actually. A 3.5-ish, maybe a tiny bit more, to gain P26 from Sebastian Elmstrom there in the PLR Esports Aston Martin, who is in chat. As we do see him now coming across the line, he is going to be able to change that lap time down. It's still not going to be enough. It's a 207.7. Now was able to take it down a second. Is he going to be able to do that anymore with this extremely wet conditions that we have? He is able to take a 10th out going through Corpse there, as he is the only driver who is improving. Obviously, most people in the pits are probably just taking a tiny bit of a break before the race, as there's not really much points going out on track unless you're trying to do some wet practice. But no one will be improving, obviously, unless you haven't done a lap time yet. But we do see Hopper is back in the session here. I believe he had a disconnect, actually. So he has just had to join back in there as Craig Fairweather going through Stowe. Still 4 attempts up here, so he is shaving that lap time down here, as it could potentially go down into the 206s. Potentially still has half a lap to try redeem himself here. He is just got to pull over to the side there, and I believe that's going to be the end of his qualifying unless he gets out just in time there, as we do see our Lavi now crossing the finish line there. On to a next lap. This is all just practice for him now, as there is going to be no improvements from any of the drivers, as I've said probably about 5 times now, and I'll probably continue to say it until I remind myself that I've said it enough times here. It's Daniel Montero in the Broken Bones sim racing car, is back from his technical difficulties, I believe it was, as he now comes in to Abbey and the Farmer's Curve. Is able to keep it green delta again before, but we have seen this before if he is suffering from any internet issues or something like that. As it stands, he is still able to keep it consistent, which is quite impressive, but I believe my data might be wrong here. When that in the McLaren 720S Evo, currently entering onto the Hamilton straight, probably for the final time. Gets very, very loose there through the complex there as he enters onto Hamilton straight. He is still going to be obviously relatively down on what his personal best lap time would be. But now we are entering what is going to be the final lap of this qualifying session for most of these drivers, depending where you're positioned on track. Obviously, there's only about 4 cars who are actually out on track which is not surprising to say the least. Montero still trying to get some wet practice there, or even just a time, to be honest. He does seem to have actually set a valid time there. He is about 5/10 off Axel literally in front of himself there, and Zarakic as well, who is in the purple, I think it's Sipka. I probably said that wrong because there is an accent on the top of the S, so I can't wait for another person to say I've bottled someone's name. Now currently in P23, seems to actually have a tiny bit of damage to the front of that Porsche, unless I'm seeing things wrong. I believe I might be seeing things wrong. But that is going to be the end of qualifying session here now, as it does seem the rain's actually coming down a bit more harder than we actually thought it might have at the end of this qualifying session. Bit of an interesting story actually today. If you live in the UK, you'll know exactly what I mean. But there was this brown envelope that came through my door today, and I was absolutely, let's just say, I've not been this scared in a while. Usually in the UK, if you don't live in the UK and you don't know what brown envelope is, it comes from the HMRC, which is basically the tax people, is what I'm going to call them, because they are pesky like that. And I generally thought I'd done something wrong in terms of declaring income, which I shouldn't really have to be doing at my age, obviously, because I'm only 15. I had to think about that for a second, which is bad. But luckily, it's only my national insurance number, so I thought I did something extremely wrong. But luckily I didn't. So that was a relief, but also not a relief, because now I actually have to pay taxes. It's only like 5% though on national insurance, I think. I should probably know this now, but hey ho, that's my story of the day. Very interesting, as you can see. I do have something coming up on the weekend that I'm not allowed to disclose until Wednesday publicly. So I'll probably post you guys on about that. It's going to be a packed weekend indeed. As we do see now, qualifying has just came to the end of its session now. We wait for the server to tick over. It shouldn't take too long as everyone is in the pits. Yeah, still raining. If it's going to be the same, actually, I'm going to check this right now as I can. It does seem it's actually going to be in a different day in terms of ACC day, so that is going to make the weather a bit more chanceful here. There's everyone in the chat saying they're scared, so makes me quite optimistic in what we're going to see here today. Is once again, if anyone knows anything about ACC race control, that you would know the yellow flag detection's been off for probably the best thing of 4 months now, which is really difficult for me to try and see who's crashed and who hasn't. So hopefully that can be resolved soon by the developers of ACC race control, but that is all of my complaints out of the way as well. So we are finally ticked over here. So it does seem it is good. Oh, this is where it gets interesting. Unless I've seen that wrong. Okay, so it is currently for the first half an hour. You won't be able to see this because I haven't ticked over the screen just yet. Is going to be dry. And it's actually an optimum track, which is good here for us for racing purposes. But it might change over the next half an hour or so. But we will go straight on as we usually do. Or a little grid walk here, as it does seem it's going to be Hutton's in P1. This is very weird to see the the AMs being in the top spaces here, but then we do see as well Brusco in P2 as well as Osric Major, and it's going to be Madsen in the Aston Martin V8 taking P4, as well as Jeffrey Witter and Enrico Itri then taking up the third row on the grid, as well as then we can see it's going to be Martino and Osgiro in the double Ferrari combo there taking up what is going to be the fourth row, as well as Ricardo Colombo and Mike Waller in the HD Beans Spaghetti Hoops livery, sorry, which is going to change apparently for the charity race, which if you're obviously not signed up for, get yourself signed up as we do see, it's going to be Alavident as well as Victor, taking up the 6th row, as well as Yorkman and Olino, as we can see on the screen in the Pork, as well as Greg Ellis and Declan Brogan, as well as the Broski in the Mustang. Brilliant looking car that is, as well as it's going to be Trizoldi, Michael Lawston, Eric Maguro, James Terry, Paige Zorokic, Axel Itchery, Daniel Montero, Sebastian Elmstrom, sorry, as well as I believe it's Chris Fairweather, or it could be Craig, and then it's going to be Hopper rounding out the grid here for tonight. So it is still, for what is the penultimate round here for tonight, is still quite a packed grid to say the least, which obviously is brilliant to see. As we do have a minute until we go green, we will just go back on green. It is going to be obviously a full formation lap as usual. Mandatory pit stop 4 tyres is going to take an interesting call here. You could potentially go for the wet tyres if it is going to rain for the last half an hour, but it looks the likelihood looks quite high because of how thick the clouds are and how grey the I guess you could say the atmosphere looks. But obviously we've seen this before. I'd like some rain halfway through. That it would definitely make it interesting to say the least. But we might not sit here tonight as we have 18 seconds. We can see everyone just going down on the stands now as we get ready for the longest, apart from, well, actually no, Norwich Life is not even the longest either. I believe this is the longest formation lap that we have in the game apart from Paul Ricard, which is going to be, I believe it's, oh, I should know this actually. I think it's just over 5 kilometers. This, as we see Seba Lenny in chat. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, as you join us for what is going to be the penultimate round here of the Pro League Racing Season 3 World Tour. James Hutton's being able to take pole position here, as well as Brusco taking P2, and Osric Major rounding out the top 3 in the Delta Hunters McLaren 720S Evo. There. So we do go down into Magnus Beckett here. This is where everyone's going to start warming their tyres up, but you don't want to be swerving for too long. You probably want to do it in the last few corners, otherwise you are just going to wreck your tyres pretty quickly here. Obviously with the mandatory tyre change, it's going to be a very half and half pit strategy here. We have seen people doing it on the last lap, which is not really that efficient when you're doing a mandatory pit stop for tyres. You may as well use both tyres to the fullest extent you can. We go on to, I believe this is Hanger Straight. I have to try to use my memory now for all of this. I should know this. But I usually have a truck map next to me, but I don't here today. Hopefully I've done enough broadcasting at Silverstone. Is this the sunniest England weather? Probably. We've seen worse at the F1 this year. But I think it is pretty ironic that it's potentially going to rain here at Silverstone here tonight. But again, it's just part of the amazingness that Silverstone racing that can provide. Obviously, I need to stop saying obviously and find some more words. I need a thesaurus soon. Because I was able to do, I'm still doing stuff with Chris Buxton, the F1 Esports commentator, and the words he uses is absolutely mega, so I definitely need to start using some of his words to improve commentary for myself here. And that's why I do like being, I guess, the worst commentator in that scenario, because it definitely improves you a lot. So that is going to be, I'm not sure what Ferrari that is. That is going to be, I believe is that Page? Yeah, that is Page in the BVR Racing livery. One of the only cars that doesn't have a livery here for tonight. Luckily, we're doing livery packs now, as I, again, want to praise Maguro, who's currently in P27, for doing all of it. Currently starting in the pits, probably a good idea. As well as Greg Ellis is doing the same thing. Greg, bless him, he has not had brilliant luck during this season so far in terms of incidents, but hopefully that can change here for this race. Starting from the back, it could be quite a good idea, to be honest, because this could be chaotic. We'll see some risky struts with rain, hopefully. I hope so. It's definitely going to be one of the more interesting races that we've seen here this season. This season, though, has delivered some of the greatest racing I've seen this year. Obviously, we had last week Vink and Conrad or Sieta both absolutely hammering it around. I believe it was Kyalami last week for about, I think it was about half an hour. So I apologize to anyone else got camera action during that, but it was quite interesting to say the least. Yes, we do see everyone formulating side by side to get ready to go green here for Silverstone round 6 here at Pro League Racing Season 3. It's going to be James Hutton's taken pole position, followed then by Bresco and Osric Major here, as he's going to have the left side here, going to have the advantage going in to Corp here. He goes across the line. It's not going to be the right line, though. We can see the line that he is approaching in that very, very green and pink Lamborghini. So do go green here. He doesn't get the brilliant of starts, but he gets a better start then from the M4R car. He's able to take pole position now and defending it from himself there. To go on board now with what he is going to be able to do. He's already been able to grab quite a big gap there for himself compared to some of his fellow racers here. It's going to be side by side going into Marcus Beckett. This has never gone well for drivers before. It is going to be Ricardo Colombo, a car on the grass that he's going to be able to go through. That's going to be a Lavi. It seems unfortunately going the wrong way there as we get a replay of what's just happened there as it goes through into Marcus Beckett here. That is going to be already another car off. I believe that's Alino. He gets a bit of a tap there from the Lamborghini. Unfortunately spins around, wasn't able to recover it there, and he's going to hit one of the Mustangs there, and he's going to be in such a vulnerable position there, unfortunately in the middle of the racetrack, and that is going to be him all the way at the back of the grid. So it could be a blessing that Greg and Miguero both started from the pit. So as we can see, they are going to be a bit further behind, but we can already see that Olavi's lost that position to Miguero just because of that small incident that did occur there. As we can see now, there's going to be Wichtig diving for the outside line. They're going through out of track limits there between him and the M4R car of Osgiro. You can also see that it's going to be one of the other Ferraris behind him as well. I'm believing, yeah, that is Osgiro behind him, and that's also going to be Martino in front of him there as we go through into the Farmer's Curve. It's going to be him lunging for the inside line and gets the brilliant advantage of getting the inside line into that very sharp angled corner. He gets the move done, but we do see here again Martino in a very vulnerable position, but unfortunately he's going to spin Osgiro there, and that's going to leave him so many positions here at the start of this race. It does seem to be very minimal contact between the two drivers. We can see Mike Waller absolutely missing his break point there, as we do see now that, yeah, it's just going to be a tiny bit of a tap between the two drivers, and it's going to lead to a bad outcome here for Osgiro, going all over, or practically down to last as he comes out in P24. As we can see Zora kick there, trying to take his position of Osgiro there. As well as we go further up here, it's going to be Hopper trying to go around the outside, going through Luffield here on Alino. Isn't going to work just yet. He's going to have to try again. He's been able to get brilliant success so through the first lap so far, being able to go up, I believe it's about 3 or 4 positions. So definitely helped him quite a bit here. As we can see Michael Lawson in a very, very damaged Ford Mustang there, having to limp his way around the track without having to go into the pits this early. Does seem he has quite a bit more damage than 15 seconds just by looking at the front of the car, but hopefully he's able to carry on. Here's Craig Fairweather as well, getting closer to the back of Alino. Now he's practically touching the back of the 992 as we go down into Hangar Straight. Now, isn't going to be enough just yet for him to get past. He is going to use that slipstream to the advantage of himself, as he is just going to try go side by side. All of these cameras are absolutely screwed off for some reason. Alino gets the inside line though, going through, so as we can see it's almost going to go through right here with the one of the E3 cars there, and that's going to be a big crash there. That's going to be everyone going out into the first corner there, and that's going to be another car getting involved with it as well. I believe that was, who actually was that? I can't find him to save my life. That is, I believe he's actually disconnected. That's why we've already seen 4 cars disconnect, unfortunately, from tonight's races. Declan Brogan, unfortunately, spinning around there, going through what is going to be Luffield. No, that's going to be into Abbey there. It does seem he's going side by side there with Martino, one of the M4R cars. Fortunately, just taps the M4R car. That's going to be both of them spun around there. This is absolutely chaotic, as we predicted. as that is going to be the end of the replay there, as we do see there's still battling there between the two drivers, as now Declan Brogan still being able to keep the position there from what's going to be Axel Littrey in the E3 racing cars. We do actually see it's going to be Magira trying to go side by side, and just see how many positions Magira has been able to make up here, as he's actually fighting here with Greg Ellis for the position. It's going to be 4P19 here, so it does seem they're going to take it very, very tight going through Luffield. Hopefully this ends nicely, as it does seem there's going to be a tiny bit of ruddiness there. Unfortunately, just because of the door being left open there from Magira, Olina is going to slide through and take the inside line. He's got the inside line all the way down to Corpse now, so a huge advantage point here for himself. But obviously the Mustang's going to have quite a nice top end speed there, and he's able to defend his position there and maintain P20. As we go further up in the grid, we do see James Hutton still at quite a vulnerable position, hasn't been able to drive away just yet. We do see it's going to be Bresco behind him and Osric Major, so it's still the top three that we know. But we do see Wicks has been absolutely destroying the grid so far, currently in P4. Well, if we look, he has went up 8 positions since the start of this race, starting P12, so quite a few positions he has made up since the start of this. Mike Waller now currently in P10, about to lose that, going through Stowe as he goes very wide there. It's going to be him and James Terry going side by side there, going into the final chicane before the F1 pit straight, as he's able to again maintain his P10 in the SpaghettiOs livery. Was that Axel Littrey has went down another position there. He's actually went down 2 positions. Declan Brogan as well, I believe, went down a position. So yeah, again, very chaotic start to this race, as we expected here, as it's still not over, as we do see it's going to be Ricardo Colombo trying to get that move done on Madsen there, going through into the Farmer's Cave. It's not going to work just yet. Going through the loop, is he going to try to do some sort of switchback? Yes, he was looking to do one. It wasn't going to work just yet, but now he's going to have the slipstream going down into the Wellington straight. Is unfortunately going to touch the grass a tiny bit. That's going to ruin his momentum just the slightest bit. Now that is going to be having to brake very, very late there, trying to go through the outside line. It's never going to work. He's going to lose a position there. He's going to minimize all of his time that he just gained from the cars ahead of him. And now we do see Michael Waller putting a lot of pressure on us. We can see there's actually again another fluctuation for position here, as we do see Daniel Montero trying to get past all of the cars here. He's actually been able to get past James Terry there, as we do now see it's going to be Daniel Montero going up into P10, looking to get past Mike Waller as quickly as he can, so he doesn't lose too much time to the cars ahead of himself. Now going into what is going to be Marcus Beckett, can see it's going to be Mike Waller in front of him in P9, as well as Ricardo Colombo in P8. It is going to be again side by side further down here. Michael Lawson looking really sketchy, to be honest, in that car, as well as Dabrowski now, but we've got to see it's going to be him versus Trizoldi here, so it doesn't seem his damage is affecting him too badly, as it does seem he's not going to be able to get by just yet. As we do see that is going to be Dabrowski trying to get past. It's going to go 3 wide going into Stowe here. Hopefully this goes well, as we can't really see as that is going to be Dabrowski getting by, but Trizoldi's still able to maintain his position. P12 gets a tiny bit of an oversteer moment there, going through Stowe, able to maintain it though. It's still going to go side by side going into the chicane here, but we do see Dabrowski trying to take the inside line, but it wasn't going to work. In fact, he minimized the amount of time, as we do see that's going to be an attempt as well by Michael Lawson in P14. Luckily it stayed in the same position here, so it's still not over yet, these fights for positions. It's just trains of fights here happening, as we do see it's going to be Dabrowski currently in P14, and it's going to be Michael Lawson in P14, as I believe I just said P14 twice there. As well as that, going further up the grid here now, it's Christian Bresco trying to go side by side here with James Huttons. Oh my days, that was too close for comfort there. That was almost a side swipe, because we're going to get a replay on that. Going down the Wellington straight, he was able to gain a huge amount of momentum on James Hutton here, as we can see going through. Now he just doesn't turn there. He almost takes out James Hutton's completely. That could have ended absolutely catastrophically, as it does seem. No, it's still going to be a cloudy situation here for the weather. It won't update for at least another 50 minutes, to say the least. Is now Trizoldi now all over the back of, again, James Terry. We've been in this, well, position for probably the start of the race now, as we do see Victor. I don't know how to say Victor's last name. Again, it's probably because any European names just go past me here. So that's going to be Trizoldi, though, unfortunately getting a tiny bit of a touch there, and that is going to be him Unfortunately, actually not unfortunately, he was able to maintain this position there, but he's lost all his momentum, so he's in a very vulnerable position here as he goes side by side here. Him and Dabrowski going in to what is going to be Stowe here. He loses the position. He might be able to retaliate here, as we can see Michael Lawson behind, just looking for any scraps that could occur here as well. We can see Greg Ellis going through, plowing through the field. We can see it's now got his eyes on what is going to be one of the other Ferraris here. A tiny bit of contact there between the two, and that's going to be Magiro going for a huge lunge here. He wants to try and get the position done as well. The door is staying open. Magiro not quite close enough to get the move done, unfortunately, for himself there. And that's going to be Greg Ellis going up to P15, and it is going to be Zorkick. No, that's not Zorkick. I'm not sure who that Ferrari actually is, but the Ferrari going down into P, I believe actually it's a back marker. Is it a back marker? No, that's Osguro, sorry. That's Osguro going down into P16. As well as that, we go further up, and it is going to be Victor now currently in P1 after his absolutely eventful start of this race, currently going up 11 positions from 12th place in just 10 minutes. So that is absolutely immense there, but we see Jorkman also doing practically the same thing there, starting P13, currently in P2. Both being able to gain 11 positions there. However, Sebastian Elmstrom starting in P24, gaining 20 positions, sorry, as it now is going to be him going up into P3 there, as he has just overtaken Brusco there. We can see Hutton's in sight there. No, he's going to go up into P4. He's looking to take over P3's place of James Hutton's there. Declan Brogan coming in P17, looking to try and take Eric Maguire's position off him now in that Ford Mustang in front of him. Usually one of the weaker cars here we do see on this grid, but it's proving wrong here. Eric Maguire going all the way from the back of the field up into P16. We do see Greg Ellis has actually started to create a gap for himself between him and Eric Maguire now, as he tries to put his sight on Zorkick for P14 here in the PLR Esports car. Further up as well, we can see Dabrowski currently in P11, trying to get the slipstream now of James Terry ahead of him. It is actually working quite well for himself there, as he tries to go for the inside line going through Abbey. It's not going to work for himself just yet, as we can also see it's going to be one of the E3 racing cars ahead of him. That is going to be Ricardo Colombo under a lot of pressure here to try and maintain his position of P9. Now we can see Daniel Montero in quite an easy position here. He doesn't have to worry about any cars behind him, because they are all battling it out right now, as we can see. Now it's going to be Dabrowski going up into P11, as well as we can see James Terry in the same position here. He's going to try get the slipstream here, as well as we can see Dabrowski doing the same thing as he tries to go for the inside line. They're going through left. He was almost going to go 3 wide there. He's not going to do that. That's a very, very, very cruel thing to do there, but it looks like it isn't going to work for him just yet. Unfortunately for Colombo, he's going to lose all of his position to it. It's going to be James Terry against Dabrowski for position between the two drivers, both in the front engine car here. Probably one of the worst types of car you will get here around this track, but obviously the BMW is pretty strong around here. We don't actually see many BMWs here tonight, if not any, so I'm assuming the Bob has killed it, as Michael Lawson goes up into P11 there. We can see it's glitching a tiny bit, but that's going to be a car off in the distance there. I believe, I couldn't see who that was, but it does seem he saved it there. As well as Jorkman now all over the rear of Victor Batic. I think is it Bazik? Bazik? If someone can correct me in chat, that would be brilliant. So now Victor is going to be currently in P1, but for how long? As we do see there was a momentary yellow flag there. Luckily it does seem to have resolved that. As well as now they have just held down a tiny bit now, as I selected their camera views. Now it's going to be James Terry looking to get past Dabrowski once again. This has happened so many times, as well as we can see Zorkick behind, looking for an attempt on Chisoldi. Can just see it is just again settling down a tiny bit, which is not what we want to happen, but sometimes it will happen. Only Greg Ellison, P11, well P12, it keeps glitching there as you can see on the screen, which is really annoying. Currently in P12, Michael Lawston in ahead of him. Currently in P11 in that Ford Mustang GT3. Is going to be him just creeping ever so slightly closer to the rear of him because of, obviously we can see it's going to be James Terry ahead of him. It's just this inseparable bond between these three drivers here. It does seem that Greg Ellis is trying to get past all of these cars quickly as he can. It does seem he's going to have a bit of an easier time though soon because we do see some of the AM drivers ahead of him. Does not mean they're slow at all though. Does seem now it's going to be a bit of a lunge there from Michael Lawston. He is going to try and attempt it from now going through there, Greg Ellis. It's not going to work for him just yet as he still tries to hold on for the outside line, going on to the Lewis Hamilton straight there, as it does seem he's going to try and go side by side once again. And it does seem he's actually going to get move done as it stands. But for how long? Michael Lawson obviously carrying all of that damage we can see on the front of his car is definitely going to affect him when trying to race and trying to retaliate to get his position back. In fact, it's not even going to be an attempt. He's just unfortunately lost so much time already from Greg Ellis. As we can see now, Zora kick all over the rear of Trizoldi. Once again, this has happened probably since the start of the race. And it still seems inseparable here. However, we can see Daniel Montero trying to get past it's going to be Enrico Itri, sorry, for P7 as they go through Luffield. It does seem it's going to be a pretty easy position there for Daniel Montero if there's going to be any sort of retaliation. I'm not too sure. Doesn't seem he's going to be able to. And that is going to be Daniel Montero going back up into P7, where he started currently, or started in P23, so gained 16 positions since the start of this race. Looking to get more here. This is looking like it might be his best result of the season so far if he's able to maintain this with just over 3/4 of the race left to go. Just under, sorry. Zoldi now currently still in P13. There's been absolutely no change here between these two drivers. And in fact, actually, no, there has. Zorkic was able to get by. I'm not sure when that was happened. When that was happened? Oh my days, my English is absolutely shocking. Greg Ellis as well trying to go on the, well, that's going to be the inside, going through Stowe of James Terry there. Daniel Montero actually looking like he's on some sort of mission here to try and get past all of these drivers as quickly as he can. It does seem he has his eyes on James Hutton here, now currently in P6, looking to demote him down into P7 here. As we can also see, it's going to be Dabrowski behind him. It does seem Enrico Itri out of sight now, so it does seem Dabrowski was able to get by as well. As we go through Abbey now for the 9th time. Not going to be able to get close enough just yet. James Hutton's actually starting to provide some really fast pace here to defend from Daniel Montero here. Trying to go there. It's not going to work. In fact, that mistake has nearly cost him a position there. He had to try to close the door as quickly as he can. And in fact, he was able to do that. And now we do see him. He's still going to be able to maintain his position at P7, as we can see. James Hutton ahead of him still. As well as we can see that it's going to be Victor again versus Yorkman, the two drivers who we have seen battling for the absolute time this race is practically started. We can see now it's going to be Jorkman actually trying to go for this position going into the hangar straight now. He might go for the inside line going for into Stowe, but I don't think Victor's going to let that happen. There is a bit of a gap there, so he could go for the chance there, but he's not going to have the momentum. As we could see, he actually nearly attempted to go for it there. Didn't break as quite as late as we saw Victor breaking. Daniel Montero now trying to get passes. It's going to be a bit of a break in James's defense there, and that's going to be Daniel Montero going up into P6 there. As well as we can see, it's actually going to be Dabrowski trying to go for the move, as well as Greg Ellis here. Could be one small mistake leading him the cost of nearly 3 positions there. Greg Ellis is going to back off there, but we do see Dabrowski trying to get that position. He's going to try go for P7 there. Fortunately, Dabrowski losing 2 positions in the span of about 2 corners there, just from one tiny mistake that we saw. Now it's Greg Ellis' turn. He wants to try to get by as well as quickly as he can so he can battle with the rest of them. It's now going to go side by side going into the left field. Isn't going to have enough momentum though. He's going to break it on a bit later. He gets the move done absolutely instantly there just by breaking a tiny bit later. And definitely paid off for himself there. Are we going to see retaliation there from the Lamborghini driver, or the Brit driver we could say as well. Currently located down in P9. That we do see going down into P10 is going to be Michael Lawson, currently in the Ford, going through Corpse. Again, Michael Lawson trying to go for the inside line going into Stowe. He is going to be able to do it onto Hutton's button. Sure, is he going to be able to get it done fully? Yes, he is. And that's going to be James, unfortunately, going down to P10. Now, he's definitely wanted to try to get these positions back now, but his main priority is to defend from Zoro kick as well. As unfortunately, he tried dive bombing. Michael Lawson almost tried and regain his position there. Unfortunately, he just loses the position to Zoro kick as well. Definitely not going to be one of his favourite moments, to say the least. Hopefully he will have the pace over the time to get the move back done on some of these cars. As we do see, that's going to be Michael Lawson actually going quite wide, to say the least. In fact, it does seem he's spun out still. He's trying to get past, so I'm not sure who that actually is as well. Is that going to be... I'm not sure who that is who's just gone off there. It does seem to be the Ferrari there. I'm not sure who that Ferrari could possibly be. But it does seem it is going to start settling down once again. But now it's going to be Dabrowski. Greg Ellis, this is what was bound to happen for quite some time here. again, it is going to be Greg Ellis just braking a tiny bit later. He's going to go wide here, but luckily he might be able to keep it going in to Luffield, but no, he is unfortunately not, and that's going to be Dabrowski going up to P7, but he might be able to go for a bit of a switchback there. Unfortunately, no, he is not. Is there going to be retaliation now? As it does seem we're going to come onto the fastest corners here, and potentially Greg Ellis's personal preference of corners here in terms of sector splits. It does seem Dabrowski has been able to maintain a tiny bit and create a tiny bit of a gap there, as we can see. Tiny bit of breathing space, you can say. But obviously now with Hanger Straight coming up, that could be eliminated pretty quickly with the slipstream here. But we can see it's going to be Olavi currently in P13, obviously involved in one of the crashes at the start of the race. Where, well, explaining some of the damage you can see on the left side of his car. And now we do see he's going to be all over the back of James Terry here for position number 12. As he's going to try to get the slipstream going into the Hanger Straight, going into Stowe. Now, is he going to try go for the move? Yes, he is. As he isn't going to be able to get it done fully, but James Terry makes a ton of a mistake there. It's still going to be side by side here, giving Olavi a second chance going in to the chicane here. It's going to be in favour of James Terry to try and keep this position, having the inside line into the first part of the corner, but Olavi still being able to retaliate, getting the inside into the second part of the corner, and he gets the move done there. As we can see, it's going to be Trizoldi as well, getting a bit loose. That's going to cause Eric Magiro to go side by side here, going into Abbey here, and he is going to be able to get that move done actually on Trizoldi from that small little mistake they had here. As it still seems in terms of the weather, in the next 4 minutes we'll get a full update on it, but it does seem it's still going to maintain a dry circuit. Declan Brogan now in P22, unfortunately losing some time here on himself. And no, actually, no, he's actually gaining time on Mike Waller then. Mike Waller unfortunately losing some time there. Losing the position to Declan Brogan as he promotes himself up to P22 for the AGS Events Racing Lamborghini. That is unfortunately going to be Osric Major losing quite a few positions. I'm not sure why. He just gave the positions up for practically free cars, so it could be a responsible move to say the least, so he doesn't get involved in any crashes there. But yeah, he just seems to lift the car going into Beckett's. He didn't want any affiliation with the free cars that you saw there, and gave the positions up there and goes into P10. As it stands now, he looks like he wants to try get past Michael Lawson once again, because obviously it doesn't seem Michael Lawson's damage is actually affecting him at all by this, well, the sign of his pace that we currently see. And now Zorkik's going to go for a lunge, a very, very deep lunge here. Indeed, on Dabrowski. He's going to be able to keep the inside line going into the second part of the chicane as well. He's going to be a bit of door rubbing, to say the least. He gets some move done and dusted. There's going to be any sort of retaliation from Dabrowski. It doesn't seem so, as he already has created quite a bit of breathing space for himself. As we do see Enrico Itri, unfortunately, gaining himself a stop go 30 penalty for speeding in the pit lane. This is when we're going to start seeing most of the drivers doing their pit stops, and this is where we're going to see the drive-through penalties and the stop go 30 penalties occurring, because of obviously speeding in the pit lane, drive-through penalties being a very minor, speeding in the pit lane and the stop go 30 penalty being one of the more major offences. And then you've obviously got the disqualification if you somehow screwed it up that badly, which has happened quite a few times, it seems. Not in this league, but it's just in leagues I've been a part of in the past. That's going to be a Lavi being able to get by Osric Major there. I'm not sure what's happened with Osric there. Just letting everyone go. I'm assuming he's doing it to try to stay in the race. It doesn't seem he has any damage. He doesn't go into the pit, so there's nothing wrong. I'm just assuming he's trying to be a sensible driver, which I respect. I do respect, as we do now see Jorkman once again looking to get past Victor, but Victor just being practically a moving brick wall here, not being able to get by at all as we go onto Hanger Straight and going into Stowe here. Once again, we're going to see Jorkman not being able to get that position done. He still has 30 minutes left to go and a pit stop, so we might be able to do something under the pit stop strategies. As in the next minute, we will start seeing what the next weather will be like as it does. You know, it's going to be Jorkman trying to go side by side going into the Hamilton straight, but it's going to be again Debris Victor, sorry, getting the inside line going into Abbey, but it's not going to have to be an issue there, as it does seem Victor was able to get the momentum that to regain not his positions. We can see as well Elmstrom in P3. Massive props to these three drivers for getting that far up the grid, as well as Daniel Montero, who's just 20 seconds behind right now. But these three drivers, I'm very surprised how they've just climbed up the grid like that. As we see, it's going to be Victor starting in P12, going into P1 right now. P13 for Jorkman starting currently in P2, looking to take P1 right now. As we do see, it's going to be as well Sebastian Elmstrom starting P24, currently in P3, 21 positions gained, as well as we do see Daniel Montero starting P23, currently in P4 with 19 positions gained to his name, which is absolutely crazy. As we do see, it's going to be Victor entering the pits there to hopefully deal with some of the pressure that he was receiving from Jorkman ahead. So we will see Jorkman coming into the pits probably quite soon as well, but we do see it's going to be Sebastian Elmstrom promoted into P2 as well as we do see Daniel Montero going up into P3. We will see all of those drivers pitting now. We do see a handful of cars pitting already. It's not going to be near as much as we will see in the next minute or so, but it is still a few to say the least. Does seem no Trizoldi actually on a flyer here. He's been able to gain 2 positions there. That is going to be one on. Is going to be James Terry behind him there in the Delta Hunters. Brilliant looking livery. Aston Martin, as we do see as well, it's now going to be Sebastian Elmstrom and Jorkman both going into the pits. This is going to be who will finish their pit stops first. It most likely will be Jorkman because he is ahead just by that 10th, but that 10th could be obviously something wrong with the jacks. If you get repositioned shares, we will stay on board with them because I am interested, as we will stay on board with what is going to be this camera on board with Jorkman, as we do see James Terry ahead of him. No, that's not James Terry, that's Sebastian Holmes. I'm sorry, I have not had enough sleep. I do apologize. As we do now see, it is going to be probably about 10 seconds until they go again. Are we going to see Elmstrom jump, or are we going to see Sebastian or Jorkman keep his position? It's going to be seems Jorkman keeping his position, as we actually haven't seen. There we go, Sebastian Elmstrom just coming off Jackson, so he lost a tiny bit of times under the pit conditions there. Well as that, we can see it's going to be the Broski all over the rear of James Hutton cheers. It's going to be Victor with a drive-through penalty there, so this is going to be a huge spanner in the works in terms of the lead of this race now, and that is going to be as well Enrico Itri getting disqualified again. I think I'm jinxing stuff for this rate, because I was just mentioning probably about 10 minutes ago when the pit started about these disqualifications, and I wasn't blaming this league in particular at all, but now I have to, that we've seen a disqualification for it, and that's going to be unfortunately Enrico Itri disconnecting from the session after his disqualification. Obviously the admins will not be able to remove that disqualification because obviously they're racing, I believe, most of them anyway. not Justice League. Dean, obviously, and Conrad both doing the LFM Duo Cup. But Greg, obviously, racing as well, currently in Where is he, actually? There he is, P2. Obviously, hasn't done his pit stop yet. We haven't seen Daniel Montero, Greg Ellis, or Alavi doing their pit stops just yet. So we'll see that happening very shortly with 25 minutes left to go. It seems it's going to stay dry for the rest of the race here, which is definitely good for the drivers after seeing what happened in terms of the qualification here. Now, as well as that, we can see is Yorkman currently still in P3, but under a lot of pressure from Victor behind, but won't be under a lot of pressure in the end. He has actually been able to jump Victor already, which is a surprise, but he has to obviously serve his driver penalty there, Victor, which he is definitely going to be bummed about. We'll put him down into the mid-grid category, unfortunately, there for him, because he has had a wicked run, as well as Yorkman, but I think Yorkman probably has a tiny bit of a grin on his face that he might be walking away with the win here today. If all goes right, obviously. Don't want to jinx anything because it seems I've already done that. Today, it's reducing that Dabrowski going into Magnus Beckett, currently still behind James Terry, but gained quite a bit of time. Going through Magnus Beckett there, it's obviously an easy corner to get wrong. As we did see James Terry going a tiny bit wide, going into Beckett there, it's reducing now going on to the hanger straight. We do see there is two battles going on here. We stick on board now with Dabrowski. It looks like he's wanting to go for the move into Stowe. He gets the inside line. Nothing James Terry can do about it. Can he do any sort of retaliation now? Does seem it's going to be Dabrowski getting the position done now, but is it still going to go side by side going into the chicane here? It doesn't seem he's going to be able to do it just yet. It looks like he tried to break a tiny bit later, but wasn't going to achieve any sort of regaining of the position there. As we do see it again, it's going to be Ricardo Colombo in P17. James Hutton's currently in P15, and Dabrowski actually it's all kind of a bit mixed up now as well, as we do see James Terry in P14. We see so many overtakes happening, it's all confusing the software almost. Daniel Montero into the pits now. We haven't seen a lovely pit. He might be doing a last minute strategy again, probably not the most effective strategy in terms of a tyre mandatory pit stop. Starting to settle down once again. Enrico Itri once again joining the server again. I'm not sure why. Seems he is going to be 3 laps down now. As it stands, Declan Brogan currently P18 against Enrico Itri's teammates. Axel Itri currently go into the chicane before going onto the Hamilton straight. Still going to be rather close between each other. Again, I do apologize if I haven't spoken too much here today. I've got you could probably hear it in my voice a tiny bit. I've got like some really bad ulcer on like the bottom of my teeth thing where your like mouth moves. So it's a bit painful to say the least. But just trying to get through it. Hopefully eating more bananas will help. I don't know why I said that, to be honest. I'm just leave it be. But no, Declan Brogan still behind Axel Littrey. Still, it's going to be about maintaining the same distance between the drivers. It's going to be 3/10, as well as how we do to see Daniel Montero starting to gain after he's done his pit stop on Victor. Victor obviously now serving his drive-through penalty has led now to Daniel Montero being in the sight of Victor. Alavi still not doing his pit stop just yet. There is a 30-second gap here between Jorkman and Alavi. It's not going to be enough. That's barely enough to cover tyres, let alone the rest of the distance of the pit. And Brogan once again, actually, again, a really big mistake there. A bit of a snap oversteer moment there as it does go onto the grass and unfortunately spins around, and that's going to be him losing a lot of time there to Axel, and we do see he's probably going to be demoted a position, as we do see it's going to be James Hutton's going back up to P18, so a bit of a mistake going through Beckett's there just caused him a lot of time. I think it was a bump he went over, just unsettled the car quite heavily, as we can see just that. 19 minutes left to go now. Not too much going on in terms of stuff, but Greg Ellis, now the PLR Esports, also one of the community owners alongside Conrad, currently in P8 against Brusco, the currently highest leading AM driver, currently in P1 in class, but also P7 overall, which is very impressive to say the least. Alavi now coming into the pits finally, entering his 20th lap. "17 minutes left to go." Does seem, again, just being a bit more of an isolated race for some of these drivers, probably a bit more of a reward, you could say, after the start of this race being absolutely chaotic as it was. 17 minutes left to go. Currently 9:20 p.m. BST time, or 7:50 p.m. in game time. Now, as it does seem, we're going to see no rain here today, which is a bit of a shame because it's always good to see some rain in game. Definitely does spice things up a tiny bit, because obviously most of these drivers are probably have just practiced wet, and the only wet practice they would have had was during qualification. Here it does seem it is going to be paying off the people who did the dry practice more from the wet practice. But here we do see it's going to be Greg Ellis going on to lap 21, did a 1:57.9 last lap. Brilliant lap time here from the Brit. It's actually brilliant. I'm actually a bit more shocked than anything. Not doubting Greg's pace at all. I'm just... Oh, actually, no, he's on the new tyres. I forgot about that, actually. So, yeah, he's going to be on qualifying trim almost. No, he's definitely burnt off most of his fuel. So, yeah, practically qualifying trim now for himself. Declan Brogan now all over the rear of James Hutton here for position number 18. We have seen this already, but obviously Declan Brogan's mistake going into Beckett is definitely going to make him a bit more inconfident going through this corner complex. So I wouldn't be surprised if Hutton's makes a tiny bit of time up going through into Beckett's now, but it doesn't seem like Brogan cares at all as he's trying his hardest to get past Hutton before the end of this race. Now there is a yellow flag there. It does seem it has just passed over though, so it seemed to be a very, very short yellow flag. As we see ahead of us, there is a bit of a train of cars starting to lead there, but still going to be Declan Brogan trying to get past Hutton for position. This could be again for P18. Looks going for the outside line, trying to get the inside line going into the chicane. He does even get it. Can he use the brakes to his advantage here? Yes, he can. He gets the move done pretty cleanly there, but do we see a retaliation point here from Hutton going into the Hamilton straight? It does seem though Declan Brogan already making quite a big gap from himself as he goes into Abbey here. But then again, we do see Hutton is going to have that slipstream if he's able to maintain this gap that currently has going into the Wellington straight. We could see a retaliation point here from the other Brit driver. So we can see Michael Lawson trying to get past Dabrowski at any given point here. Has he fixed his damage yet on his Mustang? Yes, he has. So yeah, he's going to be on rapid fire trim now, Michael Lawson. Get the slipstream now going into Corpse with 15 minutes left to go. Just a quarter of the race left. Definitely not enough time for the drivers to potentially get by if it's going to be a really difficult overtake. Now we do see Olino, who hasn't done any sort of action to his damage. There we can see how much damage he actually has on that car, so he is doing a good job to keep that near the top 10 here, potentially into the top 10 if he's able to put enough pressure on Chisoldi to get by. Does seem the two battles that are currently on track are in the proximity of each other. Can see them both in the same camera angle here, which is good to see. Lino now all over the back of Chisoldi for position here. Now the Lamborghini 303 under pressure from the Porsche 992. Number 263 of Andros Lino now as we go on onto lap 23 for these two drivers. It looks like he's trying to attempt to get the inside line going into Corpse here. Isn't going to work from just yet. He just tucks himself behind, just trying to get the opportunity going down the hangar straight, I assume, to get the move done. As it stands, he actually has lost quite a bit of time there to Chisoldi in the 303 Lamborghini there. But that is not going to be any sort of panic here for Alino's. 12 minutes, still plenty of time. But then again, that is that saying of it's one thing to get close to a car or catch up to a car, it's another thing to pass them. Which could be an example now of these two battles that are happening practically adjacent to each other, as we can see as well. Dabrowski currently in P13, as well as Lawson behind him in P13. Now it does seem Brusco was able to get by Alino just now. Actually, no, it's Chisoldi who was able to get by Brusco just now. As we can see, Alino's also going to get by, so it does seem Brusco just in kind of a vulnerable position here, to say the least. Now 10 minutes left to go. It's still going to be these two drivers at it again, practically to each other's necks, as we can see Greg Ellis trying to catch up to Zorkic here. So we do see Alavi does have the fastest lap time of the race so far. As we go on board with him, it is going to be a 57.8 to take the fastest lap time of the entire session here so far. It might be taken throughout the race that's left. Yeah, and Axel literally now fighting his teammate Ricardo Colombo, actually going off the surface there, and that is going to be him going down into P17. Axel literally going up into P16. I don't think that was team orders. I just think that was a bit of a mistake there from Ricardo Colombo there. So we do see it's going to be Daniel Montero once again. Currently, it says in P3, but it's also saying P4. So I'm not sure which one to believe. I'm going to assume he's in P3. Actually, no, he can't be. It's Victor currently in P3 ahead of him in that Ford Mustang, as he does seem to get the slipstream going into the hangar straight, as we can now see. With 8 minutes left to go, we do see there's going to be overlap traffic that could play a factor in this, but it doesn't seem to play that big of a factor, as we do see now going into Stowe. He's able to stay on the rear of that Ford Mustang here. This could be Daniel Montero's first podium of the season, I believe, if he's able to get past Victor in the number 28 Mustang now, as we enter into the Hamilton Straight. Yeah, and Daniel Montero all over the rear of Victor. Still not going to be able to get past just yet as we go into Lafayette on Woodcott. With 7 minutes remaining, we can see the amount of battling that these two drivers are doing is just minimizing their time and losing time, as we can actually see how Lavi is becoming a part of this battle here. So it's a lot of pressure here now for Victor and Daniel Montero to keep it consistent, yet for Victor to keep it in the same position for himself. Yeah, now him going into the hangar straight does seem it is going to be Alavi, who is just going to be absolutely rapid so far. Does explain why he has the fastest lap time of the race so far. Is going to be just catching up and potentially could take away Daniel Montero's P4 at this rate. But again, the amount of time that he's losing behind Victor because of defending is going to be a huge factor of that if he's able to get by Victor. So he will start becoming a bit more impatient over the next lap or so, because of obviously we're running out of time with only 6 minutes left to go. It is going to be a bit more of an impatient and some more optimistic moves, to say the least, coming to the end of the race for both Alavi and Daniel Montero to try and gain position shifts. We do see it's going to be a tiny bit of a mistake there from Victor going onto the grass, going into the farmer's curve. And now it is still going to be him in P3. Didn't lose him that much time at all, but now going into the loop, it almost seems like he is going to potentially lose his position here now as we go into the Wellington straight. And actually it does seem on the exit there, Victor gains a lot of time. Oh, here it goes. Actually, this could be the moment of it all. 3 minutes left to go. Again, a tiny bit of pressure. Well, not tiny bit, a lot of pressure, just causing Victor to crack a tiny bit and almost lose his position. As we can see, Alavi now practically on the rear of Daniel Montero now. So it is practically NASCAR racing here, neck on neck between the three drivers. And it is now going to be a race to the end and seeing who can finish in what position here. Can Victor defend for the next 2 laps, or will he unfortunately lose from pressure? At the moment, it's very unpredictable here because there has been some close calls, but Victor is being able for both the Jorkman fight and this one being able to save it like a brick wall here so far. Seems like Victor actually starting to put the pedal to the metal a tiny bit, being able to create a tiny bit of breathing space between him and Daniel Montero. Daniel Montero is just trying to attack as hard as he can to try gain that time back between the two drivers. Alavi actually losing a tiny bit of time now, just shows how much these drivers are pushing now, and this could be the end of Daniel Montero's reign, as we almost saw Alavi taking Daniel Montero's position. It didn't happen. It almost happened. Again, it's now just 1:30 left. As it stands, it could be Victor taking home P3 here. As we can see, it's going to be Jorkman taking home the final lap now as we go through Corpus. That is going to be a car there in the pits. I'm not sure that is. That's the disqualified car of Enrico Itri. I'm not sure what for he was disqualified for, but I'm assuming it is going to be speeding in the pit lane at a inconsiderable speed, to say the least, because it does happen. I have seen it in some rather major leagues as well. So it is just a mistake that can happen. It's usually coming out of the pit lane and sometimes disengages the pit limiter when coming off the jacks. It is just an unfortunate incident if that does happen, obviously. But now we do see Jorkman taking Stowe absolutely exquisitely. Trying out new words, I see. But now going through the chicane and going through the fast right-hander before going onto the F1 pit straight, and also known as the Lewis Hamilton straight. Now going through Abbey for the final time. Jorkman is going to be able to hopefully take the win here for tonight. Just a sector left to go. We can see Sebastian Elmstrom in the background here. Absolutely brilliant job from the drivers here tonight. Genuinely quite impressed. And if I were to pick driver of the day here for tonight, I would have to say it's going to have to be Sebastian Elmstrom for me. Being able to go from P24 to P2, gaining 22 positions is absolutely nuts. And potentially coming home to take P2. I could see the same with Greg Ellis as well, starting from the pits from P28, gaining 22 positions. Both absolutely nuts how many positions some people have gained. Unfortunately, there has been cases where some people have just lost so many positions. Reducing now, it's going to be Jorkman winning round 6 here for the Pro League Racing World Tour Season 3, round 6 here at Silverstone. Brilliant win here from Jorkman. Fought to the end there as again Sebastian Elmstrom coming home in P2. Brilliant result here from the PLR Esports or PLR Academy driver here. As we do see Victor going to have to fight to the end here. It does seem it's actually going to change here between the top 4 here. So it's going to be now Victor taking home P3. It's going to be Alavi taking home P4. And the Daniel Montero taking home 5th. I'm not sure he's going to be too pleased about that. Greg Ellis taking home P6. A brilliant result here from the driver. He absolutely slams it into the wall there. No better way to celebrate a win than from death, it seems. As Magiro comes home in P8, as well as Gisoldi taking home P9. It's going to be Alino in P10, as well as Michael Lawston and Dabrowski taking home P11 and P12 for the Mustangs, as well as Brusco in the M4 R car coming home in P13. It's going to be Osric Major coming home in P14, as well as James Terry coming home in P15. Declan Brogan now coming home in P16, as well as Axel Itchery coming home in P17. Ricardo Colombo, as we just see him come through Woodcott now in the E3 Racing Ferrari 296 number 80, coming home in P17, along with Rich Page, sorry, currently in P18. So it's going to be Hutton as well. It's going to be Madsen in P18. It's going to be James Hutton in P19, as well as Mike Waller coming home in P20 in that beautiful livery. That definitely gets one of the best liveries of the year from me. Again, it's just so high quality. I know I went on about it last time, and it actually got clipped. So enjoy that. As well as then it's going to be Jeffrey Witter coming across the line as well. And that is going to be the end of round 6 here at Silverstone for the World Tour. A few things to say. This is going to be my last appearance for the season because I have a very cool offer on the Friday that I get to do some commentary for, which I can't disclose until Wednesday. And then I'm on the Formula E on a Saturday and Sunday. And then I won't be back on the Monday in time because of obviously traffic and that stuff. And I come back at 9 p.m. But genuinely, thank you so much for this brilliant season of racing so far. Obviously, there's still a race left for you guys. I believe Sebastian said he might be broadcasting it. So that could be something to look forward for. I'll definitely be watching it on the way home. But yeah, thank you very much to the admins of Pro League Racing, especially Greg Ellis as well, for letting me do season 3. It's been absolutely brilliant as always, and I will see you hopefully very soon, but apart from that, very well done to the drivers and good night.